Alexa, garage left on. So, I've got a couple of projects I have to do on this car today. Well, who am I kidding? I have like a million projects I have to do on this car. But the most pressing right now is I have a Subaru engine, I have a Porsche transmission, and I don't have my adapter plate yet. I've been literally waiting for like a year for my adapter plate. And what makes the adapter so interesting is on the Subaru side, the starter is on the transmission. On the Porsche side, the starter is on the engine. So there's actually no way to mount a starter, which means it has to be done on the adapter plate. And as far as I know, there's only one person in the world that makes this adapter plate, and he stopped making them a few years ago. So we are looking into getting the rights to remake this adapter plate. So if you're a track day fan, I'm gonna be making this adapter plate for sale. And that means if you have a Cayman or a Boxer or a 996 that has a blown engine, this adapter plate and maybe a full kit, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it yet, will be available to bolt this $1,100 engine right up to the Porsche transmission. So that's why it's taking a little longer. That being said, I can't make any engine mounts or locate the engine and transmission in the car until I'm able to put those together. So here's what I'm gonna do. What I know about the adapter plate now is that it's 1 inch. So I have this piece of square tubing that is 1 inch, and I'm gonna cut a couple of pieces. And the plan is to kind of mount a piece on the top and mount a piece on the bottom, and that will correctly space out the engine from the transmission. So on the Subaru side, I will drill holes and then I've got M10 by 1.25 bolts. By the way, if you ever need hardware, Ace Hardware is the place. I know, it's right in their tagline, but they really do have an epic hardware aisle. Anyway, I need M10 by 125 to go into the Subaru engine. So what I'm gonna do is cut, I don't know, like an 8-inch or a 10-inch chunk off of this square tube. And then I'm gonna drill holes for the Subaru side to put these M10 by 125 bolts through. And then on the Porsche side, I'm gonna drill and then tap so I can put a bolt through the transmission and then thread it into this piece. Now, as far as locating these holes, I have no idea. This is where my engineering side sort of runs out. So if you guys see me doing something, you know of like an easier way to do it, I'm more than happy to take that. The other thing I have to do is start locating this front latch panel onto this hood. So I borrowed a hood from a friend, and I have this front latch panel that needs to go on. So what I've done is, I think I'm gonna basically like duct tape it up, and it will mount here. Then I'm gonna bring it down to where it needs to be, get the hood latched, then this piece will be located where it needs to be, I hope. And then I can figure out how to start boxing all the metal in and how to shape everything in there. So that's gonna be a bunch of fun sheet metal fabrication. I may not get to both of these things in this video. I hope I will. First thing I have to do is just cut a couple of chunks off that square tubing and start measuring it up for the bolt holes. So I'm going to try something I've never tried before. One of the things I struggle with when I do some fabrication is how to precisely locate the holes when I'm putting a plate over something like the engine. So obviously I can drill one hole and put a bolt through it, but how do I know where the other bolt is supposed to go without sort of precise measurements? So what I read somewhere along the line is I can sharpen one end of a bolt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the head off of this. Then I'm going to put this in my drill and hit it on my sander until I make this thing a sharp point. And then what I can do is put the bolt through the other side, put this with the sharp point pointing out into the engine, bolt the panel in, or bolt the adapter plate piece in, and then give this thing a hit with a hammer so it'll make actually a little indentation where the center of this bolt is. I probably didn't do a very good job explaining it, but let's give it a go and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so now I have this M10 sharpened point. Let's see. You see that? The point is sharp, and now I can thread this in to the engine with the sharp point facing out. And what that'll do is I'll drill a hole here. I'll get the bolt on, and then I can just give this thing some pressure, and it's going to make a dimple exactly where I need to drill the center of the other hole. Does that make sense? So my first go is, God, it's like 0.5 millimeter off. I need to widen this hole, my original hole, a little bit more. And I think it's because when I hit this, it was like 1/4 of an inch out. It needs to be as close to the face as it can be. So basically what I need to do is thread the punch all the way in until it's just like a couple of millimeters, and then give this thing a tap, because I think it located the hole like 1 millimeter, 0.5 millimeter from where it needed to be. It's not a big deal because this doesn't have to be precise, but I wanted to use this for practice on hole location. I think the concept is sound. I just think I didn't do a very good job of it. So I'm going to widen these holes just a little bit and then bolt this thing on, and then do the same thing to the bottom, and then figure out how the heck I'm going to do center the Porsche transmission onto this. And I don't even know what that's going to look like. Maybe I'll take a piece of pipe, or I don't know. So we'll see. Okay, both plates are mounted. I've got a top and a bottom. Next challenge is, how do I center the transmission onto the engine? I'm not quite positive how I'm going to do that yet. I might just eyeball it for now because I think I can get away with that, but I'm not sure yet. Okay, after a couple of hours of fiddling, this is what I've got. I've made this little bar and then welded this little tab on it because the Porsche transmission has kind of a high bolt that I want to put through here. And then same idea over here, cross member, and then welded this piece vertically because there's a bolt on the right hand side. The other thing I've done is I've cut a piece of tubing that kind of fits right over the splines of the transmission, and I'm going to, at the very least, loosely try to locate that pipe towards this center because I don't really have it any other way to do it. I thought about trying to bolt a flange here and then weld the pipe onto it, but I don't actually have any of these bolts. So now the next challenge is to figure out how to orient this so that it's even and level, and I can start, scribing through where I'm going to tap the holes. So that's kind of the next engineering challenge I'm working with here. Okay, here we are. We are finally mounted. I have 2 bolts going through. So I have a transaxle. I don't know if it's totally perfect. I'm kind of looking at it now. It's not bad though. It's pretty darn close. This isn't symmetrical, so this actually throws, this is what had me. I was following that line, and it turns out that that line's not symmetrical. So it's actually right here. That's the center, and it goes all the way through, and it goes right up to that intake. So it's actually pretty close. So next, I don't actually know. I might try to see if I can get this cart to take the whole engine. Otherwise, I might try to move the whole thing onto this cart, which might be the move. Take that handle off. And then if I need to jack the engine up, I can literally put a jack underneath. I think that's probably what I'll do. Yeah, there's my kind of fake engine mount. So let me see if I can move this thing onto this cart somehow. That took many hours. I think one thing about something like this, which is a custom build, I don't think people realize how much time it takes to trial and error stuff. And not only that, but the research, the off the camera hours and hours and hours of scouring YouTube videos and forums and you name it, tech articles, to make some of this stuff work is just mind-boggling. So again, I'm glad you're sort of along for the ride here. I don't know if I'm gonna get to the rest of this. I feel like I might wanna chill the rest of the day, but I think I would like to jack the car up and slide this whole unit in and just see how it looks and what kind of space I have in the car. And I don't know if I'm gonna call it a day or if I'm gonna kind of start kicking it on the front end, but for now, I do want to try to get the thing in there and see what it looks like. So let's do it. To refresh your memory, or if you're just joining the build, this was a full-on race car, and there was no rear end and no quarter panels on this car. So up until this point, that's been the bulk of what I've been doing, is installing these quarters, this whole rear latch section, and now this is the cavity that I have to put this entire transaxle into. Now, if you look, this has got a bunch of really trick race modifications done for camber adjustments and to accommodate a Porsche G50 transmission. This, of course, is a G96. So I thought I would just slide the engine and transmission underneath and kind of start ruminating over how I'm going to mount everything and what I'm going to do with it. All right, here's the whole transaxle in the car. And check this out. Look at this. Look how much space that is. Holy moly. That is plenty of room for turbo. So it's a little low right now. The whole thing is going to come up, obviously, a few inches. And, you know, it's not perfectly leveled or centered or anything like that, but it's in the ballpark. You know, it's a little low. You can see the oil pan's only a few inches from the ground. And although I don't know how low it is on mine, I should probably measure that. But I love how far forward I can put this thing. That is really awesome. So that's actually gonna, I mean, it's almost feeling mid-engine-y at that point. A little less, tail happy if I can move the whole thing forward. So that is a real success, I think. Just getting the thing in the ballpark. At some point, you know, I'll jack it up. I'll see what I need to do to start figuring out how to mount the front end there of the transmission. And then the other weird part is the mounts on this engine are all the way in the front versus the Porsche ones, which are on like a cradle and they mount to these back corners. So what I don't know is if there's somewhere on the block that I can build a bracket that I can attach somehow to the back. So that's gonna be on the radar. But yeah, feeling good. Feeling good, duties. Feeling pretty psyched about how this thing is fitting in the car. So I'm in the editing bay right now, editing this video you're watching, and I'm realizing it's already almost 16 minutes long. So I'm gonna cut this one off here, and I've already recorded a full video of fabricating the front end and what I'm doing with that. So I'm gonna actually release that video tomorrow. So this will be the first time I have back-to-back videos. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Again, it is a giganto deal when you like, when you comment. You can even just like give me one of these, like, you know, or throw the horns. And then you subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'm hoping at one point this YouTube algorithm will pick this thing up and we will start rocking. But I'm still gonna build this car and you're hanging with me and I love you for it. So I'll see you tomorrow with the front end beginning of fabrication. And until then, have an awesome day.